What's up, my guy?
All right. What's up, buddy?
Not much, same old. You don't hear me again? Damn it. Hello, 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 hello. Damn. Technology hates us.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
I don't know why it does this from time to time. It's freaking weird.
Very weird. Technology hates us.
And Carp can't get on.
Damn.
He's saying that it's not letting the app isn't letting him in. But I just clicked on it from the same link and I got in.
Yeah,
that
I've been.
sucks.
Can you hear me?
I don't get it. Everything is in the same spot. Everything is checked.
I've been using the same link you sent me for the first show. Can you hear me?
Like I'm hearing you through the damn computer again, and I don't understand. All right, say something, Mike.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, I got you.
Cool.
All right, gotta love this, and this is all on. Well, now I gotta reset us and bring us back into.
Let him see how the sausage is made.
Now I gotta go. Oh, I'm so mad about the Rob Carpenter thing.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I mean, I sent him the same exact link that we use, so I don't know. All right, let me turn the radio station back on. All right. Jeez Louise. All right, let's try this again. Hot 97.7, Michael J. Mike Moraitis. Oh, my gosh.
Technology hates us, man.
I'm
It just
telling you.
does. There's just no way about it.
I don't know what it is, man. I have no idea. Sometimes, come on, boom, clicks, everybody's in, everybody's good to go. And then other days, this happens. But
Yep.
the show must go on. This is Right Down the Line, where we talk nothing but NFL. And man, I'm extremely disappointed. We were going to have my man Rob Carpenter on. I haven't talked to Rob in it's been a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob used to be on one of my other shows a while back, and former NFL wide receiver, played at Syracuse. Great friend of the show. He always comes on when we want some professional insight, you know, not like guys like us that love to write about it, and but a guy that actually played it. So it's always nice to have that in tow. But unfortunately, I guess there's some technical difficulties on Rob's end.
That's all we know on this show is technical difficulties, my friend. It's not his fault at all. We're just
It's not
a couple of cursed mics. That's all we are.
Oh my God, man.
Crazy, bro.
God.
Crazy. I really wanted to get his insight into the Elijah Moore situation as well. And
me too.
What that does to a locker room, especially one like the Jets that are finally winning. Like,
right?
Just when you think things are honky-dory, something you just knew the other shoe was going to drop. Something had to go wrong there, but
and honestly, they really needed to get him the ball more, and I understand that. And
such a good talent. Loved him coming out of college. Loved
his frustration is warranted. It's truly warranted. He's got every right to be as mad as he is, but it does. It disrupts what's going on the field when somebody who is on that field, who should be one of your biggest producers, you're not getting him the ball. He's not in the mix as much as he should be. Correct. And he's letting everybody know, look, I want to trade. If you guys aren't gonna use me and utilize my talent, then I'll go somewhere else.
And there are a lot of teams that would be willing to trade for him. I can tell you that. I cover one of them. They need a warm body would be an upgrade for the Titans at wide receiver. And another thing I'll say with Elijah Moore too is I don't know, he just never seemed like him and Zach Wilson kind of hit it off.
Right.
If you look at last season, if I'm remembering correctly, I think most of his best games were when Joe Flacco played. So there might be some kind of disconnect there between quarterback and wide receiver. But just another thing. And really with this trade deadline, there's so many trade rumors and guys want out here and there. And, it's setting up to be a busy trade deadline. I think we might see some movement this year. But then again, I've thought that in years past and nothing significant happens. So.
Well, we're talking about the Jets. Now they're 4-2. I mean, we were going to talk to Rob about this, and we'll have Rob. We'll get this fixed. Rob will be on with us next week. He just texted me, so we'll have him on next week. But we were going to talk to him about the Jets, about how they were doing. Rob played for them, and he's also a New York guy. He's from here and everything. But they're 4-2. Zach Wilson's got him going. Woody Johnson even came out because Woody wasn't going to be quiet for too long. But he said something that I'm glad he said. He said, "Look, it's early," which is okay. Coming from Woody Johnson, you're like, good job. But then he used these words exactly, and I quote, "It's a symphony of effort," which I thought was okay. Not quite sure what that means since you have a wide receiver that wants out. So how is it a symphony of effort?
Right. That sounds like a Mike Tomlin line. That's definitely something he stole from Mike Tomlin in a conversation or something. That sounds like a Mike Tomlin line. A symphony of effort.
Symphony of effort. A symphony is something that's, that flows, and the symphony of, this is not
all going
flowing
in one way. Yeah. Beautiful masterpiece. This is, I mean, it's going well, but they have their issues but I like him kind of tempering expectations a little bit. It's early. It's very early, and this team and their schedule is pretty favorable moving forward. I think they lose this week.
Do you with no Russell Wilson?
I do.
Wow.
And I think the Giants lose as well. I think you're going to go 0-2 in New York today because
Woo!
it's just these are the two types of games where you have the Jets and the Giants. They're teams that are playing well. They're winning games. They've kind of gotten over those measuring stick games, the humps,
Right.
and but then so you walk into both of them walking into a favorable situation. Giants less so. Jets very favorable situation. No Russell Wilson, as we said. Broncos struggling overall. Right, the hotter team. You're going to pick them to win, right?
Sure.
Wrong. This is not the way the NFL works. I'm starting to figuring out the trends here. Broncos bare bones minimum are going to cover that spread. I think they win outright, and I think the Jaguars beat the Giants outright as well. I'm giving you my bold predictions
Wow. I
and
know a
out
little early, but
early.
that's okay. Let's take them.
Yeah, that's what I'm on today.
This is first of all, that game to me. See, I disagree. I think the Jets find a way to pull this off.
Right.
Look, I think Russell needs this time. Because honestly, I think like you never wish an injury on any player. You don't want anybody to get hurt, no matter how much your disdain is for that other team.
Sure.
However, I honestly think at this juncture and this point in the season, with all that's going on over there with Nathaniel Hackett, with just the misdirections that they have, everything that's just bad with the Denver Broncos right now, this might be a blessing in disguise, not just for the not just for that team, but for Russ. Maybe Russ needs to kind of sit back and be like, maybe he needs time to reevaluate himself. If there is any truth to the fact of what you had said earlier a couple weeks ago, and to what I've heard from my people down or up in Denver that I know, if he has separated himself in that locker room physically, like we've heard about him having a separate area, he needs to undo that now.
Oh yeah,
right now,
big time. And listen, he's got came out this morning. He's got a partially torn hamstring. So
yep.
I mean, it just keeps going from bad to worse, man. And, it doesn't look like there's any sign of things getting better. I will say this. Brett Rippon, his lone start in the NFL came in 2020 against the New York Jets.
Yep.
And the Broncos won 37-28. So it's Brett Rippon time, baby. I mean, this is the week. This is it. It's going to happen. The Broncos are going to put up their – this is just the way the NFL works, right? You got this great quarterback, Russell Wilson, but can't get anything going with this offense. Then you bring in Brett Rippon. Watch him drop 40 points today. I mean,
he will.
Just watch some crazy thing happen like that, right? I mean, this is the NFL. This is what at this point, what we expect, some wacky thing to happen.
The craziness about it. Now, you did mention about the Jets as far as their schedule. Of course, they got the Broncos today. Then they have the Pats, the Bills, and the Bears. I mean, look, I honestly think that this Jets team, if they continue to do what they're doing, look, Robert Saleh, they have all bought in. They're all on board with this guy. And he is, we talk about rah-rah guys, right? Rah-rah coaches, rah-rah players. He isn't him. And look, New York is in good hands, right? Between Saleh and Dable, these guys, I don't want to use that term rah-rah, but they are intense player coaches. And these guys love play. NFL players, especially the ones that we quote as the divas, they love playing for coaches like this. Mike Tomlin is very much like that. He is a very player coach. He's on his players. He's very much on their level. They love playing for him. And New York is in good hands. And I'm telling you, I think the Jets could do a lot more damage than a lot of people are going to give them credit for. Look, I know they're going to struggle against the Bills, obviously, right? But we're talking about the Patriots. Bill Zappy, who's playing? We don't know. And by the way, never mind. Let me slow down for a second. Then you got the Lions, you got the Jags in there, you got the Seahawks. Okay, Dolphins. They could really come out of the end of the schedule, Mike, and in their favor. Much to do in their favor. Just saying. Just looking at that schedule.
Sure, absolutely. Listen, the only two games I have no faith in them in are the two games against Buffalo. I think they
Right.
could win one or both of the games against New England. You got Chicago, Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Minnesota is the most overrated team in the NFL. So I'm not scared of them. Detroit, Jacksonville, Seattle, Miami, really favorable, pretty favorable schedule there. And listen, in the AFC, I mean, we expected everything to be stacked, and listen, you got teams like the Broncos underperforming, the Raiders underperforming. I was thinking maybe three, maybe even four teams out of the AFC West possibly, but now it doesn't look like that's going to happen. That kind of opens up two spots in
Right.
the AFC for the Jets to slip in. I mean, looking at teams that are not in first place, I mean, I think they could make it in over the Browns, the Steelers. You got the Jags, Colts, and Texans in the AFC South. So a lot of parity going on in the AFC right now, and I
Oh
think
yeah.
that there's a clear path with their schedule for the Jets to actually make the playoffs.
I
Dare I
know.
say it's crazy. And
Telling you.
listen, what you said, I mean, they're both of these teams, the Jets and the Giants, are in great hands. I mean, the Giants especially, their foundations are very, very strong. For the Giants, they don't have the kind of personnel that the Jets do. I think the Jets are a more talented team, but I think that the Giants have the edge in head coaching. I love Dabble. I think he's great. I think that team is in a really, really good position to be very good in a couple of years with some cap space,
Sure.
make some moves. Paramount is figuring out what you're going to do at quarterback. I think right now Daniel Jones has done enough to get
Okay.
himself at least, another year or
Another
two.
year.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done great that they're going to lock him up to a long-term deal, I don't think, but
Right.
I think he's done enough to warrant another look next year and maybe for another couple of years.
But Mike, you had also said, that there's going to be, with the trade deadline coming up, obviously with them winning, Saquon's not going to go anywhere. At
No,
least that's,
yeah,
what the majority of us and everybody in the free world thinks. However, at the end of the season, like, what are they going to have? Like, where is this Giants team going to have to land at the end of the season in order for it not to? Because if these guys play well and they get in the playoffs, they make a little bit of a run. Now you got to go, okay, are we keeping Saquon? Are we, you know what I mean? Because right now there's still kind of that looming, you know?
right,
You
yeah,
got to, if you're going to trade him and you're going to put him out on the market, you got to do it while he's hot. Does a deep playoff run cancel that? And then turn around and Dabo stand up and be like, look, we're not getting rid of this kid. We're keeping him. Let's figure it out.
yeah. I mean, I think you have to. He's the heart and soul of their offense this year. He's been fantastic, and I honestly, when this season started, I expected the Giants to be maybe okay. I never expected them to be what they are right
Right.
now. So I mean, that completely flips things. I thought Barkley was going to get traded. We spoke about it. We've spoke about it
Oh,
probably
yeah.
multiple weeks in a row now. I think you got to keep him. I think
I do too.
I think you lock him up to, I mean, ideally maybe a 3-year deal, but that's probably not going to happen. 4-year deal, front load it. This way, if things go sour, at the back end, you're not, regretting every minute of this decision. But right
Good
now,
point.
with
Right.
what we've seen, he looks like himself again. He looks like that star player that can carry an offense. And if you can put some weapons around him in the passing game that they just do not have right now,
Right.
that offense is going to look pretty good in a couple of years with Brian Dabble calling the shots.
I mean, all I ever hear is they need to rebuild. They need to dump some people. They need to free up cap space. They need to rebuild. I just keep hearing
Yeah,
that word
yeah,
when it comes to these New York Giants. And you're like, okay, I get it, but you have a piece
right.
that when you first drafted him, you should have built around. And I know that they tried,
Yeah,
but you have to wipe that board off, stick him in the middle of it, and work around him yet again. You have to do it. My only concern is his injuries.
yes,
That's my only concern with him is staying healthy. Because if
100%.
he doesn't, now what? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. And that's
So
that's why you front load that contract a little bit. This way, you're not
right,
getting 27, 28, 29-year-old Saquon making, 12, 13, 14 million dollars a year. But yeah, I
right,
mean, listen, the Giants are in the process of rebuilding on the fly, and not because they didn't want to rebuild. It's just they just found themselves winning faster than they expected. So now you're kind of, are we buyers at the trade deadline? I mean, I think you should be.
Right.
I don't think this team is Super Bowl bound by any means, but I mean, a playoff spot is very realistic, and now they're rebuilding on the fly, so it makes things a lot more interesting. And the funny thing, the Giants are in such, we always talk about NFL teams kicking the can down the road as far as their payroll and void years on contracts and all these things. And we always like, oh, the salary cap is fake. It ain't fake. It ain't fake for
Right.
the Giants because the Giants have 51. I think the Giants are not putting their players on injured reserve because they don't have the money to bring in other guys to replace them on the roster.
Right.
That's how bad their salary cap situation. Yeah, I mean, Kadarius Toney is the guy they probably would have put on IR otherwise, but they don't have money. They're so broke. That'll change
Right.
next off season, so that's huge. But we may not see the Giants do anything at all because they're just so financially strapped for cash that it's just really nothing they can do right now.
Yeah, I agree. All right, keep it locked, y'all. We're going to take an early quick break. We may have a George Brew sighting. He just texted me, see what's up with him. Maybe we'll get George Brew on and have him give us his insight on some of this as well and hang out with us here on the show. We are going to talk about Christian McCaffrey coming up. Obviously, a huge, huge acquisition for the 49ers. I mean, it doesn't get – look, to me, I was like, wow. And then to hear what I heard about him wanting a playbook, like on the plane. And I mean, I'm absolutely blown away. And everything I've ever said about this kid is right on the money. And he proved that. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. Keep it locked, y'all. Right down the line. Michael J. Mike Moraitis on Hot 97.7. Don't go nowhere.
out of that bed and crank it up. It's the Morning Boombox with Michael J. From 6 to 10 a.m. on the all-new Hot 97.7. Hot 97.7.
Michael J. Mike Moraitis right down the line on Hot 97.7. You can also check us out on our YouTube channel. Everything, and see, now that's the thing, Mike. Everything is up.
Yeah, it's working. I'm on it right now, and yeah, I mean, it's going good.
The channel's working. It's on. We're on Twitter at Michael J Radio, at RDTL Show on Twitter. So we're all over the place. You can find us, when we finally get on.
Right. We'll get it all. There's going to be that 1 week where everything just falls into place. I promise you.
Man, I can't wait, bro. I absolutely can't wait. All right, so big news during the week, obviously. Trade deadline is upon us. And one of the biggest things everybody was talking about was Christian McCaffrey and him going to the San Francisco 49ers. And, of course, they're playing the Chiefs today. And he's expected to play. And for me, Mike, is that something that you think was a smart move on CMC? Was, because I heard all kinds of stuff. I heard he wanted a playbook from when he got on the plane. I mean, this kid is ready, and I said it. He's an extraordinary talent. He's a very gifted athlete. He can run the ball. He can catch the ball. The guy is a do whatever you need him to do type of player. And he's proven that, obviously, with all of these, stories coming out about what he was doing prior to coming over to San Francisco, getting ready for it. But is it a little much too soon?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he's been healthy all year. He's been practicing. He's in good condition. Obviously the wall here is going to be how much he knows the playbook, and Kyle Shanahan's playbook is not that easy to learn. Sure. He'll learn it eventually, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it hurts. Get him 5-10 touches, simple plays, stuff that you can feature him in. Exactly. But man, when you talk about a perfect fit, I mean, Kyle Shanahan has made some very ordinary running backs look great. Now Sure. He has a great running back in a very running back friendly system, and a head coach who really knows how to get the most out of his best offensive players. So, I mean, when you talk about a perfect fit, McCaffrey in San Francisco is perfect. And I think more so perfect than Buffalo or LA or any other place you could have put him. I mean, to have him on that team now, I mean, it puts their offense on a completely different level.
Look, I I completely agree with you. I think he's very, very talented. But for me, it's like I also heard this too. That they want him to make an impact right away because from what I heard, Shanahan has already put together a few plays just for him, for what and to get his feet wet, to get him in the mix. I agree with you. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think it's a great idea, But my only concern is any kind of disruption. But I don't think there will be. I think everybody's obviously going to welcome him in with open arms. But I mean, they're playing well enough, and like you said, this just adds, to how dynamic this offense could really be. I mean, Jimmy G looks good. This is going to be a very interesting game too. A lot of people are going to have their eyes on this game against Kansas City. People are starting to get talking about Patrick Mahomes, where he's, maybe not being the guy that we're used to seeing, and he's not. He quite hasn't been that guy that we saw in week 1. He's struggled a little bit. So this is going to be a really interesting game.
Yeah, I mean, elite offense against an elite defense. It's really, I think, one of the better matchups of this week with so many good teams on a bye. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a real interesting matchup. Can't wait to see it. Chiefs look like they're going to start Isaiah Pacheco, so they're making a change at running back for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So we'll see how that works out for them. But, yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think there's no worry about a disruption as far as McCaffrey is concerned. This is a veteran team.
Right.
They're looking to win a Super Bowl. They just added an enormous piece. Maybe Jeff Wilson is upset, but who cares? I mean, you have a potential MVP talent at running back now.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna use him and you're gonna feature him, and I think that opens up everything else for the rest of the offense as well. And the 49ers have not been able to throw to their running backs very much this year, and I know
Right.
that that's something that Kyle Shanahan likes to do as well. So now he's got probably the best pass catching running back in the NFL, one of them at least. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see how this offense operates.
Well, there's obviously some lineage. There's a lineage trail here too with
Yes, sir.
with Shanahan and McCaffrey's. So it's not like it's the first time we're going to see a Shanahan and a McCaffrey together. So
Yeah,
there's that.
Mm.
But the other thing is too, Mike, that I think is really interesting is that I think that it's going to kind of lessen his load too, because he was just so inundated with so much in Carolina. They really relied on him. It was, like I've said before, it was very Barry Sanders.
Yes.
For me, you know what I mean? It was like the workload was just so heavy. And in Carolina, where we were used to back in the day, seeing more than one running back, so, D'Angelo, so they were able to kind of, not get beat up so much. And I think that may be a little bit of the case over in San Francisco, where he's not going to be so dependent on like he was in Carolina. So.
Sure. Yeah, much better supporting cast. I mean, the Panthers really never surrounded him with much. So, now you're talking about he's a cog in the wheel now. I mean, he's just one of the many weapons that offense has. So it's a totally different situation than what he had in Carolina.
Absolutely. All right, let's bring this dude in who I haven't seen in forever.
What's up, pal? How are you?
An old friend of the show, my man, George Brood. George, what's going on, buddy?
Not much, Mike. How are you? It's good to see you, man. It's been way too long for this.
Yeah, man. It's been a very, very long time. You look good, man. Like the beard, bro. I like that.
Thanks. As I get older and fatter, I got to do something to cover the double chins up. So, yeah, we're all right with that.
Oh, man.
Plus, I started growing in. The Phillies started winning, so my wife won't let me shave. Yeah.
There you go. Let's not even go there. I am a very disgruntled, upset Yankee fan right now. I'll tell
Bro,
you.
We can talk about that, but not here, obviously, because this is football. But I saw the downfall of the Yankees 22 years ago, and it's something I've harped on, and you've heard me harp on for years.
Oh yeah.
For another show.
Yeah, another show, another day. Absolutely. George and I go way back. We go back to the Blog Talk radio days. That's how far back.
We were trying to keep it up. We were doing like a Friday night free for all during the pandemic, and it got to the point where it was like, this is terrible because everybody else is doing video, and I'm like, I don't want to see Derek, and I don't want to see half these people.
So George and I go way back. That's when Blog Talk was big, though, man. It was back then.
It's still funny, Mike. Blog Talk is still big somehow.
Really?
Yeah, it still is somehow.
It's so horrible, though, man.
Well, everybody would start getting better audio on it. That's the biggest thing. But it's I don't know. It's still there.
That's surprising with podcasts and everything.
I know.
Still around. Shocked. I remember being on your shows in those back in those days, man. That's how I met Mike.
But you know what I think it is? The biggest thing with Blog Talk is it's so. Why are we doing this on here? It's so
transparency, bro.
That's right. But like the thing with Blog Talk is, and it's what makes podcasting so great. Just because you have a voice doesn't mean we all have to hear it.
To hear it.
Agreed.
That could be
some people.
But all right, so we were talking about Christian McCaffrey joining the 49ers. Real quick before we move on to talk about Carson Wentz and Tyler Heineke, because
good old Carl Wentz.
That's going to be a good discussion. But before we get into that, what do you think? What kind of impact do you think Christian McCaffrey makes on that San Francisco 49ers against the Chiefs today?
He's finally playing with a quarterback that can actually play the game.
Yeah.
Like he's playing with, as long as Jimmy G stays healthy.
Yeah.
he's not. And I liked your Barry Sanders comment, but it's like, he's now playing with a quarterback. There's an offense around him. There's a structure around him. There's a good head coach around him. He don't got to worry. Well, we all know Jimmy's not a prima donna.
No.
Unlike his, the first quarterback he had there. And this is the problem with drafting a running back high, is that by the time you get to where the team's good, you've used every bullet in the gun.
Right.
And like, why is he always hurt? Why was Saquon always hurt? Because when you're the guy and you think you have to make every play, at some point you stop shooting bullets out of the gun and there's nothing left. And in his case, he's not going to be the guy.
Right.
He's going to be one of the guys.
Yeah, it's such a great point. I mean, like these teams that take running backs early, I just never that are rebuilding. If you're going to take a running back with like a somewhat early pick or a first round pick, that needs to be like the last piece you're adding, or one of the last pieces. Well, you don't build a team around a running back usually. I mean, it's worked for some teams, but most of the time, like you said, by the time you're ready to win, that running back's got 3-4 years under him and miles and maybe not the same guy and won't have that sustained success over the recovered portion of the rebuild.
Like I'll just give you the Saquon Barkley aspect of the whole thing. The Giants thought he was going to be the last piece.
Right.
Okay, we made the playoffs in 16. We had a bad year in 17 because, we're a bad organization. Don't tell their fans. Here's 18. Let's go.
Right.
Eli still got it. Beckham's still here. We're good. And then it's like, oh, no, you're just that bad of an organization.
It's unfortunate because it's such
What's unfortunate?
It's the fact that this franchise sometimes doesn't get it right, and it's as of late, you saw,
no, it's not. Mike, here's the thing with the Giants. Wellington Mara gets all this praise and he preys on him. Once again, we could do a whole show on this.
Right.
He gets all this praise hooked on him because he was okay with sharing money, because he knew he was the richest owner in the game. What did he care? But the Giants have been god awful.
Oh, yeah.
For they're going to be 100 years old in 1924 or in 2024.
Okay.
25, something like that. Somewhere in there, they're going to be 100 years old. They've been god awful for 75 years of that. Yeah. Like you take out the 50s when they had, like Wellington Mara couldn't decide, do I want to go offense or defense, and lost Lombardi and Landry.
Right.
Like that, if that tells you how great the guy is and how great the organization is. Like that guy at the Met game, right? That Ben Yankee game. There you go. That's what Giants are. Giants
are told, from what I've heard about the Giants, a lot of issues are start from the top down. A lot of nepotism going on in there. A lot of people in that organization that have very high-end jobs that don't necessarily deserve them. So when you have things like that, when the kids take over from the parents, and most of the time they're not going to run it as well as the parents did. And then, you talk about the blunder with Gettleman and you talk about
Gettleman wasn't a blunder.
Gettleman was a massive blunder. I mean, he was terrible.
No.
Terrible.
Chris Mara is the blunder.
Right.
Gettleman wanted to not draft Daniel Jones and wait a year. Nope. Chris Mara and John Mara made him draft Daniel Jones. And that was evident when they said at the press conference, when they introduced Joe Skihoyne and Brian Daboll. Well, you're going to keep Daniel Jones? Yeah. It was like, oh, we're stuck with him.
Right.
That's an owner thing. That's the problem with the New York owners, is that they're all dopey.
Some of them are, again, it's almost like Jerry Jones. How much does Jerry have to constantly just be in the mix? You want to go back to the 90s. Okay, great. You guys look, that was, 30 years ago. Look, man, at some point, and I've said this 1,000 times, the Dallas Cowboys will not win another Super Bowl until they bring in the proper GM to work that team the way it needs to be worked. And as long as Jerry Jones is out here giving sound bites to guys like us, for no particular reason, it's never going to happen because that's all he's doing is just giving sound bites to keep the Cowboys relevant. And you want to talk about it's not that he's a bad owner because business-wise, he's a
great
owner.
owner.
He's a great owner, but you are not a GM. You may have been a GM then, and it worked then. It's not working now. And he's even come out on the record and said, if there's a guy out there that can do what I'm doing, I'll find him and hire him. No, you won't, because there's been plenty of them, and you never went and got him.
You know, the thing is he's never going to let anybody do a job. I mean, he had Parcells, and he knew Parcells left New England because he wanted to buy the groceries. Like, that's why he left New England.
Right.
On a team that he built.
Yeah.
But here's the thing with Jerry. Jerry just puts his ducks in a row. Like, why does he love Cooper Rush? Because, oh, look, he's got another ginger quarterback.
Right.
But the Cowboys have had great offensive line, great defensive lines. They got the steal of the draft a year ago when they got Micah Parsons because John Mara didn't like the baggage that came with Micah Parsons after Gettleman wanted to draft him.
Micah Parsons is an animal.
Animal. What? You're afraid of having LT 2.0?
Right?
What was even his? Like, here's the thing. What was even his baggage? What was his baggage? It wasn't even that great. He's like, you can live with it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
He got a tattoo. He got a tattoo at Penn State that he shouldn't have gotten. Like, what? What did he do?
So, speaking of quarterbacks, I think Carson
I'm here for you.
IR. In comes Taylor Heineke. Now, look, it's not like he was doing that great anyway, but Taylor Heineke is going to get the start over Wentz. I think Wentz is going to be down for at least 4 games, I think is what they said. Mike, is this a good thing for the Washington Commodores, as we like to call them here?
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be out, they said 4 to 6 weeks, minimum 4 on IR. No, it does not make a difference. Taylor Heineke is a worse passer, probably a better athlete, can run the ball a little bit more, maybe escape the pocket. But we saw what we got from Taylor Heineke in 2021 when he was a starter, which was not much. This team just has too many issues, and they're not going to be fixed by bringing in a slightly lesser quarterback. I don't think there's going to be that much of a fall off. But yeah, I mean, this team is still destined to finish at the bottom of the division.
George, you like this insert of Taylor Heineke? You think it makes a difference?
Wait, Carson Wentz wasn't on IR to start the season? Because it feels like I haven't watched.
Played like he was.
Yeah, right.
The only people who are mad about Carson Wentz being on IR are what is it? The Colts, who now are going to get a worse draft pick or something like that. So because the trade was based on Wentz's playing time. So, but I can tell you, Commanders fans probably don't care about that.
I kind of look at it this way: like the Colts were dumb making that trade, but that's when owners step in and say, "Well, I need a quarterback."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, not everybody drafts, TB12 in the 6th round. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, you're not going to – the problem with owners is I think Ron Rivera wanted to play Taylor Heineke from the beginning, put a better team around him, not as many injuries, blah, 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 blah. Now he gets his switch because we've heard Ron in snippets and sound bites and whatnot. Carl Wentz is terrible. The guy,
he has not shown up.
My spiritual brother, Pat McAfee, reminds everybody that he sprained 2 ankles on one play last year.
Yeah.
The guy does not own a John Deere tractor and owns a tractor. There's something wrong with him.
He has so underperformed, obviously, but. And
did he really?
I kind of agree with Mike here. I don't think this does anything. First of all, we all know Tyler Heineke is a pick interception machine.
Yep.
That boy loves to throw him some interceptions. He's very good at it. He's better at it. He's better at throwing to the other team than he is his own team.
Yep.
This is not going to make any kind of impact These guys are not going to be any better because of the insertion of this kid. Just saying.
No, it's absolutely not. They stink.
No.
They're the last team in the NFC least.
The NFC least. Russell Wilson, hamstring injury. Hackett on Sunday ruled him out for the Jets today. Brett Rippon, we talked a little bit about it earlier on, Mike. You think Brett Rippon's going to make a difference?
No. I just think it's going to be one of those wacky things in the NFL where he comes in and has a decent enough game, and the Broncos win, then they beat the Jets, who are coming in with a head of steam, and probably their fans and a lot of experts are now expecting them to win this game, and it's just one of those games where everybody's going in one direction and the opposite's going to happen. It's just, I don't have any rhyme or reason. It's just the universe. It's just the way the NFL world works, right. And I think this is going to be. And as I said before, Brett Rippon has had one career start in the NFL, came against the Jets in 2020, and he won that game. Now, he was god-awful in it, but they won. So, we'll see what happens out. Obviously, a very different Jets team, much better Jets team than that one was. Right. But, yeah, this is just one of those games where I just have the feeling that everybody's going in the Jets' direction and things are going to go in the opposite way.
Brew, where are you at with this game?
I got my receipts.
Okay.
For Robert Saleh. This is why you wanted me. You know that.
Yeah. Well, that's why you're here.
No, look. Can Brett Rippon be any worse than Ciara has been? I mean, really. Amazon is trying to take NFL games back to Kohl's with their
It's ridiculous.
They're terrible. These games have been terrible. Thank God. Here's the worst part. Mike, we live in New Jersey. Guess what we get stuck watching again? We would have gotten stuck watching Ciara versus the Jets. I mean, like when I heard Cuzzy from NFL Network, Kyle Brandt, say he's a phony, I'm like, thank you. Wow. You just vindicated Richard Sherman, who got killed for 5 years, for saying that this dude's a clown.
Look, he's so well liked.
He stinks. But that's great because he's got a great looking wife.
Right.
My wife's good looking. That's the only reason why people like me too.
Right. He's loved. He is admired. Older people dig him. Parents like him. Kids can watch him. All this. But at the end of the day, we're still talking about football. And he's been stinking up the place since he got to Denver. And expectations were so high. They were just.
He was stinking up the place in Seattle. There's a reason why Seattle was looking to get rid of him.
But here's the thing, though, George.
We can't take Team 3.
Don't you think that the coaching makes a difference? You can't tell me that you have a guy with that much talent, regardless of what happened the past few years. Let's just take that out of the mix. I don't even want to talk about that. I want to talk about the fact that we know that this guy is capable of playing great football. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's won 1. He made a bonehead decision. We all know they should have ran the ball, Marshawn Lynch, blah, blah, blah. I get it. But this is still a gamer, and this is a very good quarterback. Don't you think that Nathaniel Hackett has something to do with the fact that it's just not happening in Denver with Russ?
I think Denver has a lot to do with it just not happening with Team 3 over there. Like, yes, Hackett was a terrible hire, and if you're going to go out and spend the draft capital that you did for a future Hall of Famer, because he's going to be a future Hall of Famer. But, Mike, let's not say he took them to 2 Super Bowls. That defense took them to 2 Super Bowls. Just like, I don't know, the guy who played for the Giants, won 2 Super Bowls. But you still have to make the plays. And Russ didn't have to make the plays because the defense, look what they did to the Broncos. So now the Seahawks are, pillaging them twice. They got all their draft picks. And then they said, you take them. That's called not doing your due diligence. Yes, my mother knows who Russell Wilson is. Great.
Yeah.
My mother knows who Aaron Rodgers is because he was on Jeopardy. She blows him kisses during games. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have confidence anymore. He never, ever, ever thought that Seattle would trade him. where he could be in the land of libs and coffee.
Yeah.
And now he's with weed and libs. I don't know. Weed and Coors Light. I don't know. I can't help you there. But if you really, really think about it, like, he hasn't been good for a few years, and he's had all the weapons around him. He didn't have a running game. Okay. There's other guys who haven't. Not everybody throws a rainbow every time they throw the ball downfield.
True.
This is the guy who was a, third-round pick, who went to 2 different colleges and went to Wisconsin. Like, if I want a quarterback, I'm not going to Wisconsin for one. And didn't I learn that from Bo Callahan?
Well, and here's the thing, Mike, and I know you, like we talked about it before we had George in here, and, I think he needs the time. You know what I mean? I honestly think he needs the time. Do you think with this time, with him healing, sitting out, is anything going to change when he comes back? Do you think we'll see a rejuvenated, a different Russell Wilson when he comes back, or not really?
I mean, perhaps. It depends on how much these injuries are impacting him. He had the shoulder as well. Now he got the hamstring situation, but I don't think it's about the injuries. I think there's a chemistry issue between himself and his head coach. I think there's a chemistry issue between himself and his receivers. I think there is an X's and O's problem with the head coach as well. It's a comedy of errors, and it's all coming together to make up this disaster that has been the Broncos offense to start the season. And, Brett Rippon is probably in a better position than anybody because the bar couldn't be any lower than it is right now, So, this kid's going in there playing with zero pressure today. Do things turn around? Listen, I think Russell Wilson is a future Hall of Famer. I think he's been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL for a while now. What happened in Seattle, whether he wanted to be traded or whether they wanted to trade him, I don't think we ever really got a clear answer on that. But I find it so hard to believe this is going to continue because they do have so much talent on the offensive side of the ball. But again, we haven't seen anything that is even remotely resembling a sign of progress for this offense. So maybe in a week off will do him some good. We'll see, but I'm not so sure that it will.
Look, I think so many people I've covered the Broncos, and I know how that fan base is. I lived there. I had to choke on a lot of it. I'm not upset about my time in Denver. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. But these fans, when you give that, they had nothing. They haven't had anything since Peyton Manning. And they got thrown a bone. And his name was Russell Wilson. And this entire fan base went bananas. The city went bananas. They paid him $250+ million. 165 of it is guaranteed. And you come out here limping every week. It's just a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. Something has to be done. There's you can't keep looking at that price tag and not make adjustments somewhere. That front office can't be all too happy with the fact that Rippon is now going to have to play and their $250 million man is hurt.
Yeah, so, Wilson is living in the shadow of John Elway and Peyton Manning. That makes the situation way worse. And I get it. They're happy, but they expect big things out of star quarterbacks there in Denver, rightly so. And Wilson hasn't delivered yet.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget this other thing, too. Like, you take out the fact that, it's Russ and whatever, and there's all this money and Walmart and Starbucks and George Lucas and
Subway,
Death Star and all that stuff. Yeah.
Sierra.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, people forget, like, the lady, the other owner, the one that owns Starbucks or CEO of Starbucks, her husband's George Lucas. So build a Death Star there or something. I don't know. But, like, here's the thing, though. Like, when you look at the whole, like, with Rippon coming in, can we say it could be something like Bailey Zappi? Hey, run the offense we want.
Yeah.
Here we are, Mike. Run the offense we want. Sit there and shut up and watch how we want this done. Okay. What did Mac do? They send him to Cleveland last week and said, watch the game. Watch how we do it. Quit your and play football. Right. That's it. Don't try to be superstar and all this crap. Just do what we want you to do.
Right.
Maybe their offense gets better. Maybe John Dodson won't be running down the seam wide open and going, where's the football? I mean, Jahan Dotson went to the NFL by playing with Sean Clifford. That's about the equivalent of Mark Rippon, or Brett Rippon, or
Brett Rippon.
What was the girl Rippon that played in the LFL? I mean, same difference, right?
It's going to be interesting to see, but like I said, Rippon's his past is rather checkered, and like I said, he loves to throw interceptions. I'm sure we'll see at least one or two today during this game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
All right, you guys, keep it locked. We got more stuff coming up. We're going to do a recap of Week 6. We'll give you our picks. We got bold predictions. We got all kinds of great stuff coming up right here on Right Down the Line. Michael J., Mike Moraitis, George Brew in the house. Keep it locked, y'all. Don't go nowhere.
Dads, let this be a reminder that it only takes a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
There's nothing like waking up to some old school jams. Tune in to the Morning Boombox with Michael J. from 6 to 10 a.m. on the all-new Hot 97.7. Hot 97.7.
Hot 97.7, Michael J., Mike Moraitis, George Brew hanging out on Right Down the Line. Thanks so much for coming in, hanging out with us today. The show brought to you by our good friends over at W Energy Drink. Get over to W.GG. Use promo code Michael J Radio. Get 10% off your first purchase or any purchase thereof that you make. No calories, no sugar, no fillers. There's no artificial colors in this stuff. It's amazing. My favorite is the Monkey Madness. It's banana and strawberry. It's really good. Go check it out. W Energy Drink. Jitterless energy drink. All right, guys. So last week, this game, I don't want to say out of all the games, but this one was pretty telling for the Green Bay Packers. That Jet game, 27-10. What I guess the biggest question is, what in God's name is going on in Green Bay? And what is going on with Aaron Rodgers? Oh, okay. George, pick you. Okay. George, what do you got?
Mr. Carter, I will tell you what is going on with the Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Gunacoons is a moron. They haven't put wide receiver. Wait, I've seen this, Mike.
Okay.
You forget who I root for. When you don't put talent around great quarterbacks, I don't care what they are. You have to put talent around good quarterbacks.
Right.
And when you put no talent around them and you trade one of them who wants a Subway or Taco Bell in his house in Vegas, which, by the way, gorgeous house in Summerlin. I've seen it. Holy cow. Like, you didn't think this was going to happen? The fact that Brian Hoyer and if the Patriots start Bailey Zappi and not Brian Hoyer out in Green Bay's on a 3-game losing streak, and they lose to the Northeast. They lose to New England. They should have lost to New England. New England took them to the last play overtime.
Right.
They lose to the Giants, who still haven't figured out if Daniel Jones is any good yet, but Saquon Barkley is.
Right.
We are. And then the Jets go up there feeling good. The Packers had no legs last week. Let's also throw this one in. Of the teams that have gone to London, only one of them's won the next week, I believe. And that's the New York Football Giants because, shorter flight.
Okay.
And they got right nutrition-wise. Green Bay is in a world of hurt because they don't have Nathaniel Hackett. No, but they're in a world of hurt. No Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Their offensive line's a mess. Bakhtiari's playing himself into shape, and those are the words that you never want to hear of anybody. He's playing himself into shape.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like you should already be there.
Well, hell, I'm a large gentleman too. I understand the playing yourself into shape. I had to do it every year, like in hockey season. But yeah, no, their problem is they don't respect their weapons. And I think the new wide receiver they run, Dobbs or Dubes or however you say his name, I think he's going to be good.
But got to throw to him more.
But so now here you go, Mike. Exactly what I said. Who's a Patriot fan here? Tom Brady could never work with a guy in the first year. Right? It never happened.
Yeah.
So now you got to get him up to speed. Aaron's got to trust him when he needs him. I mean, it took Tom Brady until the Super Bowl to really trust Mitchell, and he got hurt and he was down.
He only threw to Romeo Dobbs 4 times in that game. I think it was 20 yards, so it wasn't.
I know. I have him on my fantasy team. Yeah, I know.
It wasn't very good. Mike, what is the biggest issue here? Is it Rodgers? Is it his attitude? It just seems like he does more time talking about the game than he does playing the game the way we're used to seeing him play it.
Yeah, I think it's, again, just like the situation in Denver. I think it's a lot of different combination of things. I'm not sure how much Aaron Rodgers even wants to play the game anymore. I mean, they
That's
threw a
kinda
bunch
how
of
I
money
feel.
at him. Yeah, maybe his heart and his mind's not into it. Also, I mean, they're not getting the rushing attack that they've gotten in the last couple of years. That hasn't been up to snuff. He doesn't trust his receivers, other than probably Alan Lazard. I think Romeo Doubs has probably earned his trust, but Christian Watson has been terrible. Sammy Watkins has been hurt. Randall Cobb is 9,000 years old.
But that's the only guy he trusts.
From him. Yeah, I mean, really the only guy he trusts.
That's the only guy he trusts.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I think it's a combination of things. The offensive line in front of him hasn't been that great. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough figuring out. And usually we see the Packers, they get off to these slow starts, and then they start building and getting stronger and stronger as the year goes on. I looked last year, same thing. Rodgers didn't throw for 300 yards in the first 4 or 5 games before he finally started breaking out. I just think we're starting to see the window close on this Green Bay Packers era, and maybe, this might be the end of the line for Aaron Rodgers, and you might be looking at quite possibly his last year. I think he was legitimately close to retiring, and I think that they threw the money at him. But as George said, man, they just don't do enough. You lose Devontae Adams, and your solution is pretty much, I mean, you draft a couple of receivers, but rookie receivers are such a crapshoot in the first year, man. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get from them. You can get Jamar Chase, or you can get Christian Watson if they work out at all. So just like George said, they did not do a good enough job bringing in some receivers to help him out, veteran receivers. And Sammy Watkins does not count, because Sammy Watkins he's the first guy I've ever seen get activated off IR and then be questionable for the game, for his first game back. Like, how does that even happen? I don't even know. I looked at the injury report. Was he just activated? Now he's questionable? It's insane.
But
so
let me throw this at you. Even if you bring in a veteran wide receiver to that system, right? Why did it work so well for Brady in Tampa? Because he had to run their system. And then when it came to testicle cutting time, because we're on real radio and I have to make sure I don't say anything I'm not supposed to. Yeah. When it comes down to, dropping them, what did Brady go to in the Super Bowl? He went to Gronk. Mm-hmm. He went to AB. Why? Because he knew them. He trusted them.
Yeah.
He didn't go to Mike
Evans.
Mike Evans. There you go. See, look at it. It's all that. He didn't go to Mike Evans in that Super Bowl. And that's the thing. Like, even New England, who, it took him years to get Danny Amendola in the mix. But it wasn't like him and Wes and him and Randy, where it was like, fireworks. Like, but it happens.
George, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, who, for the most part, over the past 5 years, who has just
had the same offense every year, had the same guys.
Critically acclaimed for spreading the ball around.
He spread the ball around to Devontae Adams, because Devontae Adams took the top off the defense on every play.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, me and you could have played quarterbacks on that team.
The thing for me is, you guys know I am not a fan of his by any stretch, and it's because of him off the field. And I know as a guy that does this, I'm not supposed to feel like that, but I do. Why? Now, I will never knock the guy for his play. I won't. But his play right now is not what everybody's so used to. Why everybody says he's one of the greatest players, greatest quarterbacks to play, which I do not feel.
Nope, I don't.
I'm sorry. It almost makes me nauseous when I hear guys that get paid a whole lot of money to do what we're doing to call this guy one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play. Not feeling it. And I'm not going to say it. I mean, it took me forever to finally give Brady his due and say those words out of my mouth. But it was warranted, and he deserved it. Look, this guy has got issues, and there's more to it than meets the eye, I think a lot of us see. But he's got to start spreading that ball around. He's got to start, like George said, he's got to start trusting these receivers. I know sometimes these guys take a long time or take their own time to do it. But the time is now. You're out of time. You are 3-3 And they're not. And Mike, what you said about him doing it in the past, I completely remember those seasons where he kind of sputtered in the beginning. But this is a completely different look that we're getting from Aaron Rodgers. This is not something that we've seen in the past.
I agree, and I think it was just a terrible move on the general manager's part to put so much of the onus on two rookie receivers when we know Aaron Rodgers does not trust young receivers. He just doesn't. It's just the way his history is. He's like Brady, and he's like a lot of these other veteran quarterbacks who just it takes time to get in their good graces. So to expect Christian Watson and Doubs is now has been better than Watson, but to a lesser extent when the season started, they were hoping for something out of him as well.
Sure.
It's just you can't expect that with Aaron Rodgers. So that was a really big blunder on their part.
No, it started 2 years ago when they had a first round pick, and it's like, it's a good wide receiver draft.
Sure.
Oh, let's draft Julian Love.
Right. Doesn't some of these moves make it seem like they hate him and they just want to piss him off? It's so weird. It just seems like they always do the opposite of what is obviously needed.
Full disclosure, I was at the draft in 2005 and met Aaron Rodgers when he was sitting in the green room until the 25th pick or 24th pick, whatever he was. Dude's a nice guy. Not saying he's not. But this is Green Bay's MO. Everybody. This is what happens when you don't have an owner. Because the owner could go, "What are we doing here?"
Right.
He's been non-committal. The last guy was non-committal.
True.
It gets to that point.
Poster boys for non-committal quarterbacks,
Yeah. Right.
Poster boys for how not to run an organization. He's not committal because you're not helping him.
Right. And there's a reason he plays with that chip on his shoulder, or I should say continues to play with it because, like you said, you were there, he's had that chip since that day.
It's not like I'm going to go sell insurance for my dad's insurance company. That guy. But still, even at the end of the day, it takes a high quality human being to sit there and go, man, I got all this money. I get all these model girlfriends, model wives, and I still got a chip on my shoulder. Stop it.
Yeah, man.
It's when Rodney Harrison would say, when the Patriots are 16-0, 17-0, 18-0, we're the underdogs. No, you're not. It's the biggest joke going. Give me a break here. Aaron, we get it. You did the ayahuasca. And I tell you, the best thing that he's done in his career is do this Tuesday thing with Pat McAfee. Because now you're actually seeing Aaron Rodgers as a person. He's not the robot. He's not the State Farms pitchman. He's not doing Izod for Coles.
I could do without it. Him and his penguin hair. I'm good.
Yeah. Oh no, the hair. For somebody who's follically challenged and it's trying to figure out what he's got left by growing it out.
It's a bad
right, but stop. Okay, stop with this. Okay, it was like Brady the one year grew the hair out. Well, we found out later he's doing it for what's that? The thing with the wigs, right? He was doing it for a good reason when he grew his hair out and had the hockey flow.
The locks for love,
locks for love, right? So that was a great thing for Brady to do, and Aaron. But you're this committal to a Halloween costume? Come on, come on, Aaron. You're better than this.
Oh God, you got
just go do Jeopardy. Right. You know what? You want to go do Jeopardy? Go do Jeopardy. Right. Get out of my life. Let me watch Julian Love stink, and have Green Bay Packer fans finally realize for the last 30 years how they've had good quarterbacks, what bad quarterback play is. Because I watched Cam Newton play for the Patriots.
And
Brian Hoyer.
Jordan Love is gonna. I kind of agree with you, Mike. I think this may be his last year. I think. Jordan Love's going to end up taking over, and, we're going to see what kind of maceration is going to happen with this Green Bay Packer team. It should be interesting. All right, let's move on. Let's go to the Giants-Ravens game, 24-20. Giants improved to 5-1. Another team that kind of makes you go, what's going on? They're 3-3, the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, is his wishy-washy play, not, the play that we're not used to seeing from Lamar Jackson, does that have anything to do with his contract, do you think, Mike, at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
it's contract year. You want to play as well as you can, and I think, I mean, honestly, I think some people have been kind of tough on him this year, and
Oh yeah.
he's kind of a one-man show over there. I mean, he's got Mark Andrews to throw to. Rushing attack was good last week, but I mean, he's doing so much. Doesn't have a ton of weapons in the receiving game. The running back situation's been a little uneven. The defense stinks. So I mean, he's got to play better, but I mean, he's been playing at overall. I think he's been playing at an MVP type level. And if the defense has a pulse, they probably have 2 more wins. So, I think that this is a bigger issue with the defense than it is Lamar Jackson.
I mean, Kenyon Drake, they're getting him in there. He had over 100 yards last week, but
yes, the once every 8-week good game from Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He needs more help. And look, Baltimore is very much like my Steelers. Everybody expects good defense.
Right.
Hey, Ray Lewis, that's what you did. You started it, and that's it just kind of it sticks, and that's kind of what you're used to, and you're used to seeing, a good defense out of Baltimore. And we're not seeing that this year at all.
And they really haven't been able to put it all together also. So the first 3 weeks, the offense kind of carried the show a little bit and the defense stunk. The last 3 weeks, the defense been better, but the offense has kind of stunk. So this is a team that they have, I think, enough pieces to make the playoffs and to even win that division. But can they put it all together? That's the question. And they haven't been able to do that on a consistent basis this year.
Yeah.
Can I give you gentlemen a stat?
Go for it.
For this, speaking of this game, I was there. I've never heard Giant Stadium so loud in the years that I've been going to games with my old man. And the stat is 1. And you want to know what that is? That's the amount of interception the Giants have on the season.
Wow.
1. And that was last week in crunch time. Julian Love picked them off. And Lamar Jackson, to me, is a guy who, if he plays from the front, from ahead, is great.
Okay.
All right. That offense is built and predicated on being up 20 points, running the football. When it comes down to coming back or icing a game away, when you have to run, they can't throw the football.
Yeah.
Like just to the Randall Cobb thing, to the Mark Andrews thing. Once you get to the point where, that's the only guy he has to throw to, and we put 3 guys around him.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And that's what it came down to. And to the Giants' credit, it's the same roster almost that was there a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago. But Brian Dable's got them playing. Like,
he's amazing.
I think it's more on the fact that the Giants won the game than Baltimore lost that game.
They wanted it more. Their players
I think so.
It more, and it sounds cliche-ish, and it sounds like something when you talk about a high school game or even a college game. Oh, they just wanted it more. Look, these pros, they get in their heads too. It's the same mentality.
Yep.
Sometimes a team that just wants it more and is willing to do whatever it takes ends up winning. Yep. Talent be damned, so to speak,
Yeah, a lot of times a coach's impact is overblown on a situation on a team. Not in this case. I think Dabble is the X factor on that team. I agree. He has them believing that they're winners and that they can win. And I don't think their last 2 head coaches really were able to do that. And as we were saying, after they beat the Packers in London and Dabble's walking up the field and he's yelling, he's pumped. Like, I wanted to run through a wall. I'm not a Giants fan. I wanted to run through a wall for that man. Like, I wanted to. Whatever he wanted me to do, he could have had me do it at that point. Like, and I can only imagine how that is translating to his players as well. It's just a completely different feeling in the building. And as I said earlier in the show, they're going in the right direction. And I think even more so than the Jets are. You put some pieces on that team, some receivers, beef up that defense in the secondary as well. They've got a really bright future right now. They've got to figure things out at quarterback though, and see if Daniel Jones is the answer. We still don't know that yet.
Yeah, and it's gonna come to fruition during the offseason. We're definitely gonna see some kind of movement whether it be draft, whether it be, what they want to do with him. We're going to see some movement. I guarantee it. All right, let's go to the Tampa Bay game since we were talking about Brady. Tampa, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh finds a way to win it. Mitchell Trubisky and Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett goes down. Concussion protocol.
Called this one.
Mitchell Trubisky, where have you been? How come? And of course, you guys know I'm going to freak out over this. How come you couldn't play like that when you had the job, bro? Like, even the intensity level from Mitchell Trubisky was completely different than it was when he had that starting job. This guy threw 144 yards. He threw a touchdown. He was running all over the place. I mean, I was like, look, man, if you could have played like this in week 1, we would not, you'd probably still have your job, bro. I mean, come on. And then you look across the field and you got Tom Brady, and he's mad and he's yelling at his guys. He still put up 243 freaking yards, but he's starting to lose that edge. And look, we've talked about it. We've said that maybe the Gisele Bundchen thing has got something to do with it. I'm sure it does. Everybody's personal life bleeds in onto the field, no matter what you want to say, because those guys are human. They're just like the rest of us. Personal things affect you in so many different ways. You can say leave it at the door all you want, but sometimes it just comes underneath that crack of that door and there's nothing you can do about it because the weather stripping is not that great. It's just a fact. So with this game, what was your biggest takeaway? And it could be either team, Pittsburgh or Tampa. Brew, what was your biggest takeaway from that game?
Oh, I think it's not having a good enough offensive line on Tampa's part, where that's why Brady's losing his mind. I mean, you lose your center right before the season. You don't have anybody to come in. I'm tired of this narrative. Oh, he went to Kraft's wedding on Friday night. Who cares?
Yeah,
like,
so what?
He was going to go anyway. Like, there were active Patriots at that wedding.
Right.
And who cares? Like,
they were trying to find headlines for it.
They're trying to find headlines. They finally have like a poor, it's like the Death Star. They found the one weakness in the plans and they're trying to shoot the lasers into it. And they're everybody's upset because of the way he's trained Gisele because he came back out and it's playing. It's like the guy's personal life. Okay, whatever. What? He didn't have good enough avocado ice cream in Pittsburgh. Like what?
There wasn't readily made available tree bar.
But here's the thing though with him. Like, he is 45 years old. He doesn't have a security blanket anymore. They bring in Julio Jones, and Julio Jones now is a perennial IR candidate. They don't have anything on offense. There's a part of me that thinks he wants to go back to New England, and I think there's a part of me that they could try.
I would say that
if Mac Jones had the ankle surgery, I think he's back in New England right now.
I think that he does before all the Gisele Bundchen stuff. I felt like he didn't want to play, like he regretted coming out. Now that he could possibly be divorced and he doesn't have to answer to her anymore, he said it. There was that soundbite. If I can find it, I think I have it. Hold on, let me see if I have it.
Mike, before you play that, though, I'm going to say this. There's a reason why Jennifer Aniston's single.
Okay, why is that?
Because sometimes you just got tired of, her. Look, if you believe what was true about how the divorce in New England came,
right?
Tom, they don't respect you. Tom, they don't do this. I don't think he ever wanted to leave New England. But I think she made him, and I don't think he's happy about it.
So this is Tom Brady joking around about retirement.
Here to announce, finally, you guys pushed me to the brink. No, I think a lot of it for me is just us going out there to, I love the sport and I love the teammates and I want to go do a great job for this team like I always have. So no retirement in my future.
No retirement in your future. Really? Are you sure? Because honestly,
his old man is almost 80 and he's still working. Why?
I don't think he's going to retire. That's not it for me. What it is for me is I don't think he makes that I don't think he makes that comment if his marriage isn't in trouble, to be honest with you. Because when him coming into this season, I honestly figured he just wants one more hurrah, 45, put a cap on it. He was going to try to do what he could with Tampa, try to get him back to the Super Bowl, and then he was going to walk away. But I think now all this personal stuff, she had no idea he was coming out of retirement. How do you not tell your wife, oh, honey, by the way, I'm going to go on this program today, and I'm going to let the world know that I'm coming out of retirement? How do you not tell your wife? There was obviously issues there.
Hey, I bought a $600 driver. I didn't tell my wife how much it cost.
Well, but that's on you, bro.
but
Mike, what do you take from this? What did you take from this game? Tampa or Pittsburgh? What was the biggest takeaway?
Yeah, listen, I still think Pittsburgh stinks, so there's not much to take away from that. I mean, they're they might be a little frisky moving forward, but they stink. So there's really not much to take away from that. Good for Mitchell Trubisky. Too little, too damn late. The story is the Bucs offense. The NFL is the only place in the world where a 220-pound skinny white guy can go and yell and scream and trash talk 300-pound, 6'5" guys. Love it. I mean, it's crazy. So the story is the offense. I mean, the injuries at wide receiver, Julio Jones is out again. Out again. I mean, he just can't stay healthy, but I never really expected much from him anyway. Chris Godwin looks like he's starting to come around, so that's good news. Fournette's played a little bit better of late, but the offensive line remains an issue, man. The injuries have been a big problem for them up front. Protection hasn't been what it is, and you saw that last week with, him screaming at his offensive line on the sideline. So, I mean, the story of that is the offense. And listen, if Brady and Giselle divorce, I mean, there's nothing stopping him from playing until 50 now. I mean, the man's going to keep playing if they get divorced. Right. So if we want Tom Brady to go away, we need to be rooting for reconciliation over there and not divorce.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
I know people that were at Kraft's wedding, and then they were saying that there were guys that play for the Patriots now. They were saying, "You come back."
Yeah, I don't think that's ever going to happen, and I'll tell you why that's never going to happen. Bill Belichick. He's got this stigma of I've never won a Super Bowl as a head coach without Brady. So now you bring him back.
He ain't gonna win one. He ain't gonna win one without him now because
but I think that pride is going to be an issue there. Yeah, and then
no, you're right. The pride's there.
Yeah, and then
the pride's there, but I think where it would come down to, I think the owner would step in again. I really think Kraft really does look at Brady as his fourth son. Third son, fourth son.
Yeah,
he looks at Brady like a kid, and I think if Tom said, "Hey, Robert, I want to come home," like when he didn't, the big thing that they made out of the whole retirement thing is how he thanked Tampa, and he didn't thank New England.
Right.
He was coming back.
Huge. Yeah,
but his plan was to come back, in my opinion.
Was he trying to do a LeBron?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go away, win one, and then come back and win one again for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think he wanted to leave Tampa to go to Miami. I think that's been pretty documented.
Oh, yeah.
And Tampa simply denied him. So I don't think that they'd be any more inclined to trade him to the Patriots when they're still competing. I mean, they're still competing for a division title, and they're still going to be in the mix for the playoffs. That division is terrible. Okay. So, I mean, what would that say if you traded Tom Brady back to that team while you're competing? I don't see that happening. Could I see it happening? Maybe next year if he decides to play another year and Brady says, I want to go back. I just don't see it happening. I think he's done in New England, and I think Belichick's done with him too. But again, Kraft is the wild card there. I mean, Kraft loves Brady and could step in and say, "Hey, man, we're bringing him back." That's
look. Brew made a great comment. Sometimes these owners overstep their bounds, and Kraft is known for doing that too, getting a little too involved. What were you going to say, Brew? Before we get a break?
Let's not forget, Kraft is almost 80, or he is 80.
Yeah,
I don't know how old he is, but the guy wants to win.
Or his wife.
Good for him. Hey, good for him. Hey.
Well, at least it'll keep him. I mean, she's hot enough to keep him out of the freaking, the happy ending places. So at least we know those places are safe now. So,
Hey, you never know. Maybe he's still going there.
Yeah, right. All right. All right, guys, keep it locked right down the line. Michael J, Mike Moraitis, George Brew hanging out with you on Hot 97.7. We got Are You In or Are You Out on the other side, as well as bold predictions and some picks for Week 7. Don't go nowhere. Keep it locked.
Take a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Get out of that bed and crank it up. It's the Morning Boombox with Michael J. From 6 to 10 a.m. on the all-new Hot 97.7.
Hot 97. There we go. Hot 97.7. Michael J. Mike Moraitis, George Brew hanging out with you on right down the line. All NFL. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. Don't forget you can check us out on our YouTube channel as well as on Twitter at Michael J Radio or at RDTL. And yeah, so you can check us out. Just that easy. All right, here's the thing. I like messing with Mike. I love doing Are You In or Are You Out? Because I always give Mike these far out ones. So George, you'll enjoy these. All right.
Yeah, he goes full Skip Bayless on these ones.
Oh my God, I love it. This is my favorite part of the show because I always love seeing Mike's face when I say them, and Mike's like, "What? Like really, dude?" So this one, I don't know. I'm kind of partial with this because I have some things that I want to say about Dak, but I'm gonna let you guys run with this first. So. The first, are you in or are you out? Dak Prescott returns as QB1 for Dallas, but it doesn't matter. Dak's performance will be bad. Cowboys lose. Are you in or are you out, Mike?
I mean, the Cowboys just won, 4 games with the ginger sensation himself, Cooper Rush.
Cooper Rush.
Man, I mean, I think Dak is I think Dak is the final missing piece, honestly, that the Cowboys need to really compete for big things. I think their defense is one of the best in the NFL. Their offense has enough weapons, I think. I think wide receiver is still jury out with Michael Gallup. They really need him to step up and be that number 2 receiver behind CD Lamb. But you have Dalton Schultz as well. Tony Pollard is better than Ezekiel Elliott. Free Tony Pollard, but that's a story for another day. Yes, I mean, they are so much better with Dak under center, and I'm not the biggest Dak guy, but man, is he so much better than Cooper Rush. This offense is going to finally reach its ceiling with him under center, and when you combine it with that defense with LT Jr. out there and just a really good defense overall, yeah, I mean, Dak is that final missing piece that's going to enable them to compete with the Eagles for a division title, and I think ultimately they're going to be very dangerous when it comes to the playoffs.
Brew, are you in or are you out?
On the Cowboys losing, no, but I think the thing is with Dak is he just makes them better. Like he's a better athlete than the ginger sensation. You're welcome. Yeah, like it's the Cowboys are built so well right now. Offensively, defensively, yeah. I can't get ride with you there, Mike.
Look, they thought that we all did. Everybody thought that once Dak went down, this was going to be a you know what show. Everybody, I don't care who you are, unless you are just unless you're Jerry Jones or Michael Irvin. Okay,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And even Michael Irvin was kind of like, but he's the biggest proponent on TV or radio that has the Cowboys back. But at the end of the day, I agree with you, Mike. I think Dak, it makes them better. I think that we're gonna actually get to see the Cowboys with him. I think he keeps them where they're at and even elevates that offense, because first and foremost, when you see somebody else that takes your spot and is doing better than you were doing when you left it, you better come back and step up your game. These guys where they need to be. Keep this motor running, because if you don't, you can say whatever you want about Dak being better, but at the end of the day, Jerry Jones wants to win football games. That franchise, Mike McCarthy, needs that team to win football games. And if Dak comes back and isn't doing what he needs to be done, don't get it twisted. Don't think that we won't see Cooper Rush again, because I think we will. All right. And our other.
All right, and don't hit. Hold on, Mike. And one more thing. It could be fine until the playoffs, and then we'll see, them lose again, because Mike McCarthy's a terrible in-game manager, and Dak will, pull his best Donovan McNabb impression.
Do it up. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. Tua also returns as QB1 from Miami, but again, still doesn't matter. Pittsburgh finds a way to beat the Finns during his return. Are you in or are you out, Mike? Turn your mic back on, buddy. Hold on. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know. My computer's black screening. I couldn't unmute my mic. Okay.
You're good.
What was what'd you say again? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. So Tua returns as QB1 from Miami, but again, it doesn't matter. Pittsburgh finds a way to beat the Finns in his return.
No, it matters immensely that he's back there. Listen, we know Teddy Bridgewater's a serviceable backup. Skylar Thompson is the best practice squad quarterback in the history of the NFL. Tua is not great, but he's better than both of those guys. We saw that earlier this year when Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are putting up monster video game numbers. This makes a huge difference, and without Tua, they don't have a chance to compete for a playoff spot in the AFC. So yeah, it matters big time for them. I'm out on that.
True.
That's why the Jets are where the Jets are, because they beat whatever that guy's name was. You're honoring the 72 Dolphins. There should be a lot more buzz there. I mean, hell, there's still tickets left, and they were still in it for this game. I figured Pittsburgh would travel up and take all them tickets. Tua's not good, but he's good enough.
Okay.
And they have weapon upon. Hey, they did exactly what Green Bay should have done for Aaron Rodgers. Get some weapons.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's do some bold predictions. Give me your bold prediction for this week. Mike, what do you got? Bold prediction, buddy.
Well, I gave you before that both of the New York teams are going to lose, so I had to come up with
That's
another
right.
one. The report suggests that Christian McCaffrey is going to play. He might have a limited role to start. Hogwash. I think he gets 15 touches. I think he totals 100 total yards, and he scores the game-winning touchdown in a San Francisco 49ers victory over the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 7. Lots of
Pick
bold
of the
predictions
week.
in that one for you. Yes, sir.
Love it. Love it. All right, Brew, what do you got?
We got a Monday night game in New England with the Patriots and the Bears. Around Halloween, we've seen this before. Justin Fields will be seeing ghosts, and the Bears will put up under 100 yards of total offense, and the Patriots blow them out. And Mac Jones is return, and if he's not good, Bailey Zappi plays the second half.
Wow. Big stuff. I love it. Look, my bold prediction, and this is bold, Daniel Jones goes for 275 or better. 275 or better is what we see Daniel Jones do in that game. Look, kids do. This team is on a high. Brian Dable's got them playing out of their minds. Mm-hmm. And hey, there's a reason it's a bold prediction. So that's my bold prediction. Now, give me your game of the week. I'm going to give you guys my game of the week, and it should come to no surprise to you because as far as the Tua coming back, look, is he going to be better than what they have? Absolutely. I agree with you on that, Mike. On the other side, though, I think Kenny Pickett comes back in. He's a little rejuvenated. Look, this team has got to start winning football games. And that's Mike. This is when Mike and I were talking about how impactful coaches are. I think Mike Tomlin is one of the most impactful coaches in the NFL. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Steeler fan. I'm saying that because I listen to this man's press conferences. I've seen what he says to these guys in these locker rooms. I know what's going on in there. And nobody more would you want to win for than this guy. And I think that these guys find a way to win. I think the defense steps up tremendously, and I think they're going to start, they're going to give Tua some fits today. I think there's going to be issues back there. I don't think he's going to play as great as everybody thinks he does. Miami's favored by 7 in this game. I don't think they cover it, and I think the Steelers actually win this game, and I'm going to say 28-21, Pittsburgh wins this game.
Well, Mike, you better hope that happens because at the same time, the Yankees will probably be getting eliminated from the playoffs. So you're going to need the Steelers to win tonight.
I'm going to need something, bro.
The NFL did the baseball such a great favor this week with not having really any good games that are on, except for Chiefs and Niners at 4.
Yeah.
And that's going to go right up against, Phillies clinching the World Series.
Yeah.
Man, is it like, is it picking the lowest hanging fruit to take the Chiefs and Niners as the game of the week? No. But you know what? I'll give you a sneaky bad game to watch, but you're going to probably enjoy it. Colts Titans.
Okay.
Colts Titans.
Yeah.
That's the game of the week because that AFC South has turned into the last couple seasons NFC East. It's a terrible division. But, man, is it fun to watch those teams beat the living snot out of each other. And Colts, Titans, it's that. They've been, since the division started, they've been the 2 best teams in that division. And,
yeah,
the Phillies play at 2:30. That's all I got.
Well, we all know that Mike covers the Titans over at USA Today's Titans Wire. So, Mike, give us a little insight on that. How do you feel about that Colts game that the Titans got today?
Yeah, Titans have, through the Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning eras, the Colts dominated the Titans for years and years and years. The shoe is finally on the other foot now. Titans have won the last 4 against the Colts, 4 out of 5. But these teams always play close games. They come down to the wire. Happened again in Week 4 as well. The Colts, the one thing they can hang their hat on is they've won the last 3 out of 4 in Nashville against the Titans. So that's the only place they've had success in recent years. But I think the Titans are in the Colts' head. They're definitely in Jim Irsay's head. I mean, he's going nuts watching his team lose constantly. I think the Titans get this win today. I think it's close 23-20, but I think that pass rush does enough to pressure Matt Ryan, force him into some turnovers, and help out that struggling offense. But if you're looking for a fun offensive game to watch, Titans Colts is not going to be. I'm just talking about Titans Colts is not going to be it. My game of the week, obviously, we're looking for things that are not. I mean, you got Chiefs and 49ers is the game of the week in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Jags Giants. For some reason, the Jags are favored by 2.5 over a 5-1 Giants team that has beat some very good teams the past 2 weeks. That line makes no sense to me. That smells like Vegas is trying to get everybody over to the Giants, and the Jags are just going to cover that spread. I like the Jags not only to cover, but to win that game also. And as I said before, I like the Broncos to go and unexpectedly beat the Jets this week. Again, just too many things. Too many people are going in the Jets' direction. This is the NFL. This type of stuff happens. Wacky things like this, where the Broncos are going to come out and pull this game out today.
Well, let's figure out why the Giants are 2.5-point underdogs. Because you get 3 points for being home. If the Giants were the home team, they'd be 3-point favorites. It's just the way every game starts at +3 for the road team. It's just the way it works, and then they figure it out from there. So Vegas, there's chandeliers in Vegas for a reason.
Yeah. I am not a fan of that game. I wouldn't touch it as far as betting goes. But I am going to watch it. It's going to be interesting to see. Well, let's talk about
live bet it.
Because but
or you have a great single game parlay on FanDuel.
Let's talk about you can talk about FanDuel all you want. Never DK on here. We don't mention DK on here.
I don't play them anyway.
So because we're still trying to get this.
I can't talk about BetMGM because I have family members that work there and I can't play there anymore. So it kind of stinks.
We all have like embargoes because with my company too, same thing. It's like I'm not allowed. Can't mention anybody but Typico Sportsbook. So don't get me in trouble. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's not do that. All right. Let's talk about two hapless teams. That one we didn't expect, and the other one we were kind of like, You got the Texans and the Raiders. Both teams have a combined win of 2 thus far. Texans are 1-3-1, and the Raiders are 1-4. Vegas has Vegas as the 7-point favorite in this game. Mike Moraitis, what say you? Who wins this game?
I think it's the Raiders. I think this is the get-right game for the Raiders. They're so due to have kind of that offensive explosion game where you go, oh, yeah, this offense is capable of doing that because they have some talent on it. Obviously, the status of Hunter Renfrow is something to watch, and Matt Collins as well. We already know Darren Waller's out. I don't think it matters. I think the Raiders get a much-needed win and a big one at that. I like them to cover at 6.5 where I'm looking at here. I like them to cover and win big today.
Brew?
Dear Josh McDaniels, run the football.
Yes.
Run the football. I know you know how to do it. I watched that Super Bowl against the Rams. I know you know how to run the football, Josh. Run the football. Houston is sneaky good. Davis Mills is like, if you really have no quarterbacks in fantasy, he's one of the better fantasy quarterbacks for that reason because he throws the ball 1,000 times a game.
Yeah. He's already got like 1,000 yards and
he's
got 4 picks, but
he's got 4 picks, but you know what? They're terrible in the red zone.
Yeah.
You should know I have Rex Burkhead on my fantasy team. Just because I'm in a dynasty league and nobody ever moves. No, there's no reason why the Raiders shouldn't cover. That town is geeked up right now with the Golden Knights starting. It'll never be a Raiders town because the Golden Knights are their town, but got to win today. You can't lose today.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't.
So between the two of you, if you had to say, if there was one team right now in the NFL that you would say, when you look at their record, their division, maybe even the fact of them possibly getting into the playoffs. What's the one team that has to win today? Who's that team that you're like, they got to win or it's over? If they don't win today, these guys are done, and stick a fork in them because they're not going to make the playoffs. But it's got to be, but the win's got to be today. Tampa Bay?
Tampa Bay. Yep.
Okay.
Because it's spy. Like, I have friends that live in that area, and they're almost like, if you listen to Tampa Bay Sports Talk Radio, they're ready to get rid of Brady.
Wow.
Because they followed the national media narrative, and they're really close to coming unglued. It's a Dolphin state anyway.
Right.
Yeah, It's got to be Tampa. Like, Tampa has to win today because they have to get right.
Will. It's Carolina.
Yeah, but you never know.
1-5. Tampa Bay's favored 13 in that game, so I would think that would probably be.
Brady doesn't cover big numbers though.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't ever remember Brady covering a big number. No. Like, it's just.
Mike, what about you? What's that one team that's got to get the win today, or we can go ahead and stick a fork in them?
I think it's the Broncos, and they have to do it with Brett Rippon under center, which stinks, man. But I mean, it's just a case. I mean, you're going to fall to 2-6, and still try to come out of that division and conference. You're going to have one hell of a turnaround the rest of the season, and I have seen nothing to suggest that they're able to turn it around. This is, I mean, pretty much every game from here on is a must win after the start they've had. They have got to go out there and get a win today. They need a great effort from that defense, which has been the reason why they've even won 2 games.
Sure.
I mean, right up there with the Raiders in the same division. Must win today. Cannot afford to fall back any further. And as George said with the Bucs, great answer. I mean, not only can you not afford to lose a game and have another terrible game, but you would be losing it to the Panthers, who now don't even have Christian McCaffrey. No excuses to lose this game today. They've got to win that game. Otherwise, I mean, I don't want to say that they're done, but I mean, man, they'll be in disaster territory at that point.
Well, I'm with you on that because I was going to say the Broncos too, but I think another team, guys, that really needs to, like a lot of people still think that they're going to be able to win the AFC North, which I think they probably will. But I think the Ravens have to get a win today against the Browns, and I think they will. And I think we're going to kind of see a shift on Lamar Jackson too. I think we're going to see a little bit of different play. Look, I feel like he's, like you said, Mike, he's just, maybe it's too much. He's taken on too much. And at some point, you have to step back. You have to make those better throws. Keep a hold of the ball too. Stop fumbling it, Lamar. That would be nice too for you. But I think the Baltimore Ravens definitely have to get a win today. I think they're one of those teams too that, they might not be quite out of it, but it would be close if they take a step back and lose today. So I think that they're one of those teams that definitely needs a win today, especially against Cleveland, who is so wishy-washy as it is. Jacoby Brissett, Jacoby Brissett. I mean,
Jacoby Brissett is great for a week or two, but don't let him play 10 games.
Yeah,
like he was
Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is a cult hero, though. But the thing is that comes down to them. Like you said, don't fumble the ball. How about just don't make off schedule plays? Snap goes past you, throw the ball to the 13th row. Right. Don't try to force a play. Live to play another down.
Sure.
The Giants were down 10 points in the fourth quarter last week and came back and won handily.
Yeah.
Why? Because you fumbled, you made a bad play. The Giants were there the whole game last week. It's I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of his. If they don't have Justin Tucker, how many wins do they really have in the last few years? Because that guy can hit a kick from anywhere. He's like J.J. Redick at Duke. You put the guy at the popcorn stand, he can hit a 3. Tucker missed the kick last week against the Giants, and it was only because the ball shifted in air. Because, every Giant fan sucked the air over to them.
All right, guys.
They don't do that.
Thank you so much for tuning in, listening to us. Thanks to Mike. Thanks to George. Before we get out of here, anything you want to say to the nice people, Mike, before we get out of here?
Check me out as always, titanswire.usatoday.com for all the latest Titans news and full recap of everything that happens in a very crucial but under the radar AFC South showdown between the Titans and the Colts.
Absolutely, be good. Brew, anything you want to say to the nice people?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Mike. You know, I don't have any Twitter to plug because, well, you know, nobody cares what I have to say. I'm just here for the comedic value of everything.
Hey, it's good seeing you, man. I hope
you too, brother. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Come back next week. It'll be great. Thank you guys. And don't forget, go check us out at hot977fmradio.com and check us all out on Twitter and all of our social media platforms. George Brew, Michael J, and Mike Moraitis. Go check us out. All right. You guys have a great Sunday. Be safe. We'll talk to you again. Same bad time, same bad channel right here on Right Down the Line on Hot 97.7. As I say around here all the time, don't sweat small stuff. Right here. See you.